Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. It's Wednesday. We're going to talk some news because Toni Storm has announced she has retired from professional wrestling, but there's a little bit more to that necessarily meets the eye, and we're going to get into that later on in the show. We are also going to be talking about the possibility of a match in WWE between Mike Tyson and Logan Paul. Of course, after Jake Paul defeated Mike Tyson this past weekend in boxing. We're also going to preview tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite and talk about this photograph, which was posted by Adam Pearce about an hour ago, which features two very interesting faces. One of them being Paul Heyman, one of them being Brock Lesnar. We're going to get into that in just a bit, but before we do, let's introduce the panel for today, and let's kick things off with Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
What's going on, Ben? I'm stoked to be here as always. I mean, I don't know if you did this show lineup intentionally for me, but I'm looking at Tyson, Lesnar, all these MMA names, Toni Storm on the list too. Like, were you just trying to give me a happy Wednesday? I'm stoked about it. We've got this and Dynamite. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. No, it is a very heavy MMA show for sure. But also joining us, we have somebody who will be happy. It is also a very AEW heavy show. How are you today, Sol?
I mean, if anything, mate, it's just another cold Wednesday here in Scotland, which I'm lying on the floor of my studio next to the heater because it is one of those days. Nonetheless, yeah, I'm happy it's Wednesday, but I'm sad it's cold. So, yeah, 50-50 booking.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have as much sympathy for you today, Sol, because it's as cold here where I am in Swansea. So we're equally as cold.
Sol's been dealing with temperature issues all week.
You're lying.
I walked outside yesterday, right? I was walking back from meeting a friend, and my ears were just ringing. It was that cold. I was like, I am not used to this. It was just a shock. Could be at a bit of a warmer summer, and now it's just all crashing back down again. But we do have a comment over on Instagram, over on YouTube, and that is from Bobby Petito. Shout out to you, Bobby. I hope you are having a fantastic Wednesday. But without further ado, let's jump straight into the main topic, shall we? Brock Lesnar. Is he returning? Is he not returning? What are our thoughts? Because, like I said in the intro, Adam Pearce posted a photo about an hour ago, right? And this photo was he wanted to get fans going, right? It featured Paul Heyman and then Brock Lesnar on a stretcher. So a lot of fans are saying on Twitter, hang on a second, are we being swerved here? And in fact, is Seth Rollins not going to be the fifth man? And instead, will the fifth man for the OG bloodline be a returning Paul Heyman with his former client, Brock Lesnar? I mean, that would be a humongous shock. But Clark, do you realistically see this happening?
Absolutely not. I think there's a chance that Lesnar returns at some point and the Gunther feud will be paid off, but not alongside Paul Heyman. If it's anybody replacing Seth Rollins as the fifth member projected in this storyline, it's another Heyman client. It's another Heyman client that doesn't quite get along with Seth Rollins. It's Cult of Personality. It's CM Punk. That's who returns alongside Heyman, if anybody does. I think at the end of the day, I presented an idea yesterday that I love. I think Heyman is the one that convinces Seth Rollins to be the fifth member. And he has a big old smirk on his face when the Shield music hits and Seth comes down from the crowd as the final member during War Games. That's my prediction.
That would be epic. I much, much, much prefer the Punk idea to the point of I actually prefer it. Well, not I definitely prefer it to the Seth Rollins idea because, like, it makes a little bit of sense. Sure, Punk hates Roman, whatever, but he loves Heyman. He is a Heyman guy. So
Yep.
would he do that for Paul Heyman, just so Heyman can get his revenge? Very possibly so.
And not only that, pulls the wool over Seth's eyes. Now Seth's like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Wait a minute. He's upset about that. I mean, there's a lot of story that could be told there. There's a lot of juice there. And I like the idea of Punk.
Shard's saying if Seth isn't the fifth man, throw this entire storyline for War Games away. I said it right. There's only one way, one possibility where I'm okay with Seth being the fifth man, and that's if he stomps on Roman's head, win or lose, at War Games. At the end of the match, he turns on Roman because, he promised he would. He said he was going to stomp in his head. You cannot persuade me in a million years that Seth's sudden hatred for Bronson Reed is longer than his almost decade-long hatred for Roman Reigns. You can't persuade me that. Like, it just makes no sense. I don't understand how Seth's fine with it. How on earth he'd suddenly switch? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And unless they do the swerve with the turn, which is what I'm hoping they do, I actually think they've rushed this storyline, and I don't like it at all. But Shard saying, Soul, talk some sense into them, please. Soul, what about you? Do you reckon Brock Lesnar is returning?
I don't know what Shard was. Do you want me to talk sense about Seth and Roman working together? Because I can I absolutely talk sense to that because I absolutely understand it and I actually fully support it. I support Seth being on the fifth man. But let's get into that later, right? Lesnar. At the end of the day, WWE will do what WWE wants to do and make money. Because here's the thing, Lesnar, for his faults, people don't like him, for his Universal Championship run, being a part-timer or what, he is a absolute massive name. And think about it as well, WWE is under the TKO banner, which obviously includes UFC. Lesnar was one of the most influential men for the UFC in the longest time. He's one of the individuals that holds one of the largest gates with him alongside Conor McGregor. He has done such a lot. So if TKO get an opportunity to introduce Lesnar back into the fold through WWE, they'll take it as well to get him back into UFC. Not as a fighter, maybe as an analyst or a host, or even just like a guest appearance. They'll take that opportunity because Lesnar name carries value. Now, if they want to bring him back in WWE for matches or sporadic appearances, they'll do it and it'll make money. Because at the end of the day, WWE is a company, which is the company's main job is to make profits and reduce costs. That's their main thing. Yes, Lesnar might cost a lot to bring back to the fold, but the amount of merch, the amount of advertising from him as well, and the general appeal of Lesnar to a lot of fans that we've seen obviously on Adam Pearce's Instagram post, people want him back in the fold in some capacity. You could do a feud with him and the younger guys like Ron Breaker, Carmelo Hayes. You could do him against some established stars with Gunther, or you could even do him some legacy opponents like CM Punk or John Cena. Like, this is Cena's last year. Lesnar returned, obviously, from his initial departure from WWE against Cena. You're going to kind of run that back. Punk and Lesnar had probably one of the best SummerSlam matches that a lot of people highly recommend. You're not going to have an opportunity of that again in the future. You run that back. Paul Heyman as well. There's such a story between those two. You're going to run it back. It's going to make money, 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 money. And as well with Saudi as well. Obviously, I know the Saudi deal is an ongoing thing, but they have the WWE experience there. What if there's an opportunity for Lesnar to come over, do a match, gets to host the experience, do a meet and greet the experience? You're going to make so much bank off that. Heck, let him win the Crown Jewel Championship if he has one of the other championships. That's, again, another eyes on the product. Again, another flow of cash as well with Lesnar's appearance. You don't have to like Lesnar, but you do have to say that Lesnar is a draw and he brings in the big bucks for the WWE.
Yeah, I do agree with you there, Soul. He is certainly a massive draw. I mean, Shard's saying here that, Roman and Seth are brothers, they can unite. I mean, here's the thing, they're not brothers. They're not brothers, though.
Do you want me to sell it to you, Allison? Because I get it.
No, I understand. I understand the premise of it, right?
Well, think about it.
They debated it enough on the Daily yesterday.
What did Seth say to Cody going on to WrestleMania 40? He said, he was a man that made mistakes. He's accepted his mistakes and he's moved on. He doesn't embrace hatred anymore. He's saying that to Cody. Seth's past Roman. Seth
Yeah, but
has
why did he get involved at Mania? Because he still hates Roman. That was the big thing. He said,
no.
"I'll forgive you, Cody, because my hatred for Roman's bigger than my hatred for you."
I
He
mean,
got involved.
by
to
the way,
help
the
Cody.
one thing we're forgetting about though is like at the end of the day, Seth is the one who hit Roman in the back with the chair on the original Shield turn. This
But
is all
Seth's
Seth's fault
deluded. That's
too.
the story.
He's delusional.
And I think a heel
No,
turn is
that story's
definitely coming for
over.
Seth because Punk, I think, is going to be the face in the feud, and Seth's going to be the heel. So I think here's the thing. I genuinely think it is too. I'll give my thoughts quickly on this subject. Right, I don't think Lesnar's returning at Survivor Series because to Bobby Batito's comment earlier on, I think he's coming back either on the first Raw on Netflix or more likely
Rumble.
in the Royal Rumble. I think the Royal Rumble is where, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would bet on it. Because that's
could be.
that's where I think it would make the most sense. As for Survivor Series, I do agree with everybody. I think it's going to be Seth. I think that's it's obvious. But I also do think that Seth's going to turn, and I think that is the right move. And it's not going to have to be. We don't then have to have a Seth and Roman feud. It won't be anything like that. He just, at the end of the match, stomps in his head, walks out. Seth goes on with his business, starts feuding with CM Punk. The crowd are annoyed at Seth. He's a bit of a heel, so they know who to cheer for, and that is CM Punk. There we are. Bang. It's all set up perfectly.
The thing is that though, that doesn't. It breaks. It doesn't. So the initial story of Roman and Seth is always the cycle of violence and hatred and despising one another. That cycle has been broken because Roman finally did it. He got the opportunity of his vengeance on Seth with the chair shot at WrestleMania 40. The cycle's done. He was always chasing that opportunity to get back at him, and it was done. It is done. There's not any more continuation with this cycle. Seth could turn heel on CM Punk. That's absolutely fine. But to turn heel on Roman and then not follow it up with like,
you don't need to follow it up because you already know. He
I will
said
say
he's going to do it. In
on
fact,
that episode of Ride Along where they
promised, he said he'd do it only last Monday. He said, "I promise you, next time I'm in the ring with Roman, I'm going to stomp in his head." Last Monday.
He did say that. But honestly, that episode of Ride Along where they go from Anaheim to LA, they seem to get along handsomely. So like they, that exists.
Oh gosh, Charlotte saying you've never had issues, and then you're cool with them again. I mean that
Nope,
is very
not
much
even
true.
once. I'm kidding.
That is true, but the fact is with these guys, right? They're more. It's like that couple, right, in primary school or whatever, secondary school, who constantly get together, break up, get together, break up, and then they end up being together still at the end of school, and then you find out they break up when they go off to uni. And that's basically the situation we're into, right? I don't like the idea of Seth suddenly forgiving him. I think when you do the reunion, in fact, I'm going to be honest, I don't even think you should put Reigns and Rollins ever back on the same team again, without, one of them turning on each other,
or
unless
John Moxley.
Ambrose is back.
Ambrose. Yeah.
Yeah, unless if Ambrose comes back for a one-off, that's when you put them on the same team once again, and for them all to be cool. For one final moment, forgiveness, and they're brothers once again. Without his involvement, I would not do it at all. Kobe's got a great point. People are also forgetting this isn't the Renaissance era. This is the Logic era. Things make sense. Well, at least in the Bloodline storyline, that tends to be the case. But maybe we're giving them too much credit. Maybe none of this will make sense. Maybe they're all friends again. Everybody's cool.
Just make it not make sense.
Maybe we've been overrating it, and actually Lesnar's going to come back, pin them all. But Sean Ellis saying, I think Brock Lesnar is my age and he should have one more run, then eventually retire like a true cowboy who hangs up his boots for one last run. The one thing I will say about a Brock Lesnar return, right, is the possibility of Obafemi or Bron Breakker, but I think I'd prefer Obafemi in this position.
Yeah.
Being able to retire him. That would be awesome.
It'd be really cool.
I absolutely love it. Isaac Pugh was saying, do you think Steph still holds a grudge due to not attacking Reigns at Mania 40?
I don't
know. He did attack Reigns.
Yeah, I thought he did.
No,
am I missing something here?
Well, if you mean the main event at night 2, obviously Seth played the Shield music, tried to get in the ring to attack Roman, and then he tried to attack The Rock and get done in by Roman. But then he was the Messiah, basically, or the the false bullet, because he stood up and knew
Yeah.
Roman would take in his anger, did it on Seth, allowing Cody to get the win. I just necessarily think that the Shield story, what I said, is like building up for that 10 plus years of Roman getting his comeuppance of the hatred, and the continuous cycle has been broken because he finally did the chair shot on Seth. You don't need to continue it, in my personal opinion. I think, honestly, Seth might be the next man. They'll do the match. Maybe Bloodline will lose because Rock decides to come back from another bad movie, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's Rock!"
Well, he's filming another one, so he can't come back yet. He's busy.
He does
until
love his
January.
bombs, doesn't he?
I keep saying this, and the IWC won't listen, and they get in the hopes up for Rock every time, and then it made it 10 times worse when he
why
showed
did he
back
turn
up
up
at
at
Bad Blood.
Why did he turn up at Bad Blood?
Well, he turned up at Bad Blood because everybody was theorizing that he'd turn up. So he clearly found time to be able to turn up, to quickly stare at them, and then leave again and not come back.
What storyline progressed for The Rock showing up for 2 minutes to stare and do a throat cut to somebody? What storyline?
Well, no, that's me the WrestleMania main
He
event,
counted too.
The
He proved he could count. Remember?
He said, both of you two are dead. WrestleMania main event
He said
foreshadowed.
1, 2, 3 cut scene.
We have Josh saying, if Seth does team, do you reckon he'll do the Shield entrance?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said that. That's the only way that they would do it. I presented this. I presented this earlier in the week. Paul Heyman drops off a backpack for Seth Rollins, and it's filled with the Shield gear, and he comes out.
Why?
And if that is the final member of their team, it's cool because we don't know who it is going in. All we see is Heyman drop off a backpack in Seth's locker room, real easy. And then all of a sudden he comes out in the vest to the Shield music and he's the big savior, but it still doesn't work. It's still not enough because the Rock comes in and does something or whatever. Right.
Well, there's a couple
hits at the end.
There's a couple of things on that point. Why would Paul have Seth's gear? Well,
because Paulie's a wise man, Kobe. He's wise. He found it. He went to a pawn shop and he got it. They can explain that later. There's 90 stories we've laid out in this 17-minute segment now, Kobe, and that's the one you're like, well, how could he have gotten the vest? I don't know. He bought one. He went to the Spirit Halloween in October. He picked one up. Like, what do you mean?
I will say, though, right, that we do have a couple of other comments. Isaac Pugh saying, what's the point when he's not going to be at Mania 41? Not only do I think he will, not only is it possible he'll be at WrestleMania 41, I think it's almost a guarantee, right? Because we know his schedule, because, it's pretty much all announced, right? Deadline announced all of his stuff. He's got nothing on from the middle of January until I think it's early summer. So he's 100%, as far as we know, is free for WrestleMania season. And it's rare for Rock to have a gap in his movie schedules. So the fact that he does hints that, he's got something planned then. And I do think that will be The Rock. We do have a couple of other comments. Bobby Petito saying, wow, absolutely. But I mean, let's now move on to something which could also happen at WrestleMania, shall we? Mike Tyson, Logan Paul. Because we've got a comment here from Shard. If Punk's the fifth man, I will no longer be podcasting WWE content and only podcast NWA shows.
That is
good for you, Shady. Good for you. I mean, personally, I would just
say
make
a tough move.
Your show, but I mean, hey.
Yeah, it is a bit of an extreme move, that, isn't it? WWE, no WWE, oh, NWA. NWA is the solution. But let's now move on to talk about Mike Tyson, shall we? Because Shard is actually the one who has inspired this topic, because he put out a tweet saying that he predicts Mike Tyson will be a special guest referee at WrestleMania for Logan Paul's match, leading to something between the two. We know after the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul boxing match this past weekend, which Jake Paul won, that Mike Tyson and Logan, they teased something after it, right? They teased something on the mics. Could that something be in WWE? A lot of other people are predicting that it could even be a match. I don't know about any of this. Clark, what are your thoughts?
Okay, if you watched the fight on Friday night, Mike looked good for 30 seconds and then had no legs. So the idea of him suddenly learning to professionally wrestle and having a match with Logan, it does nothing for me. One thing I would find exciting is if he's involved in some way in a Logan storyline and as an enforcer, similar a la Austin and Michaels WrestleMania 14, where he's a special enforcer for somebody. He represents somebody that's having a match with Logan. Maybe you get Jake in there and have Jake in Logan's corner against some singles star. But the idea of Mike Tyson wrestling a match, whether you thought that fight was legit or not on Friday night, he didn't have his legs under him for 8 rounds. It looked ridiculous. Please, please do not put him in an athletic endeavor with Logan Paul inside of a professional wrestling ring for anything beyond one big monster well-sold right hand. That's what I would like to see, but please don't have Mike Tyson wrestle a match.
See, Clark, mate, I got to say something. I think you're missing the obvious match they're going to do. There's an obvious match they could do that pays to history. Tag team match. Logan Paul, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I mean, that would be wild. I don't see.
I mean, look, I don't think they're going to do it, but if you want crazy, go ahead and do it. I mean, Allison, you're muted, so we can't hear you.
If we were going to do something like that, I'd almost rather have it be like.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's stupid.
Sami Zayn and
It's the
Kevin Owens
most ridiculous thing that no way can he retire like that. No way can Stone Cold go out in a tag match with Mike Tyson and the Paul brothers. No way.
I mean, if it sells money, WWE do anything that sells money and views.
Yeah, but Stone Cold has to do it, and he isn't all about the money. We know that.
I'm trying to think of what would be a good one. I don't know.
I'm going to be honest with you. Shard's saying about his idea, right? And I did shout you out for it, Shard. I did just credit you in the intro for this.
Yeah.
But I actually think Shard's idea is the best one. Have Mike Tyson as the special guest referee in whoever Logan Paul's facing, if that's happening. Number one thing, he has no interest in Mike Tyson versus Logan Paul. However, he could see Jake Paul having a boxing match with Vince McMahon. I can't see that one. Sean Ellis is saying the Tyson versus Paul fight sucked like an AEW show. No, it was the worst. No,
it was the worst thing we've ever watched. It was worse than an A. I mean, I like AEW.
It sucked. It was hideous. AEW's great. I was defending AEW for a second.
Yeah, no, I was too. I just don't even. I can't even talk about the. I watched the Jake Paul off me last weekend. I can't believe we still have to talk about him.
Bobby, however, would be interested in it. So perhaps that would be. I mean, they would definitely be interested in it. It would definitely have a lot of views. And Netflix, they know how many views Tyson brought in for them last time. Yeah. Could they be forcing WWE's hand a little bit here, saying, hey, get him in. We want some of that. Money.
Servers crashing. We don't want servers crashing. Come on now.
That's true. They can't.
Buffering.
Nobody's getting in, are they? But something when you don't see any buffering is On-Demand Progress Plus. Now, in case you guys don't know what Demand Progress Plus is, it is the streaming service for Progress Wrestling. One of the biggest promotions here in the UK. My favorite wrestling promotion, my favorite independent wrestling promotion for sure. 100% my favorite promotion in the UK as well. They have great shows pretty much every single month, and they're all on Demand Progress Plus, including all of their past matches featuring the likes of Pete Dunne, Finn Balor, and more. There are so many, basically legends now who came through at Progress. It is a great platform. You can also watch Defy Wrestling on there now as well, and TNT Extreme Pro. But very interestingly, you can watch in just a couple of days' time. Their last Saturday's show will be on demand on there. And I've heard very good things about it. I've seen 2 matches from it. I cannot wait to watch the entire show. But also, this Saturday, they have got their super show, their yearly super show, Vendetta 2. I'm hyped for it, but we've had 2 back-to-back shows in 2 weeks there on Demand Progress Plus. So make sure you guys check it out. It is great, and you can use code WatchProgress1 to get 50%. That's half of your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and more. Truly, guys, I recommend it. Now let's talk about Toni Storm, shall we? Because Toni Storm did an interview with Sports Illustrated today where she said this: I'm not used to being a loser. I failed at everything. I lost in AEW. I lost in Japan. I lost in Mexico. This is the last you'll ever hear from me again. Enjoy Mariah May as your champion. You can all enjoy that. I mean, it's pretty blunt, isn't it? She is saying she is retired. She is saying she is done. Do I believe it? Absolutely not. We have also had announced today Mariah May is going to be having a championship celebration with Mina Shirakawa at Full Gear. A lot of people were suggesting that perhaps Mina Shirakawa would turn during that segment. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Toni Storm is going to be returning, and that is the point in having that segment on a pay-per-view instead of a championship match, something I'm still not a fan of, but hey, at least this would be a big deal. But Soul, do you think there could be any legitimacy to this claim?
I'm solid. You have to actually ask me that question. I mean, no. Like, genuinely, people who actually believe Toni Storm is now a retired wrestler are idiots. Let me rephrase that. You're an idiot if you truly believe that. So where is this going to go? Generally, for me, if I had the pen, obviously this is not what I think is what will happen, is what I would like to happen. I would have Mariah and Mina do this championship celebration at Full Gear, and then maybe have it be Toni interrupts, and she's like, oh, you know, darling, I know where I'm from. And maybe she says she's like in Mina's apartment in Tokyo, is like where she's been hiding. So that leads to tension between Mariah and Mina. It's like, oh, you've been hiding her from me in your own apartment in the bed. And it's like, oh no, scandalous. And I don't know, because I feel like maybe do it at World's End, Mina Shirakawa versus Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Championship, but then it's like Wrestle Dynasty is right around the corner. So either you do them two at World's End, or you do it at Wrestle Dynasty, or you do a triple threat, because it's like literally they came to Japan and like Toni can't escape it because she could be like, oh, I burnt my passport. Well, we're here. You can't escape us. Like, damn. So you do a triple threat between the three, and then Grand Slam in Australia, you do the third match in the trilogy of Toni Storm versus Mariah May. So I think there's ways around it. I just think the big match they can do right now is Mina Shirakawa versus Mariah May. But whether to do it at World's End or in Japan with Wrestle Dynasty with the big crossover show is the big question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got quite a few comments about this. D6 Warlord says, no, I want Toni in the Royal Rumble. I mean, that would be a shock. Shard is saying Toni Storm's retirement was the best news I heard today. LeBron James should follow
Mariah
suit.
May fan. He got Tatum Tuesdays and Mariah May Wednesdays, basically.
He also likes Liv Morgan.
He's mad about Mariah.
He has a thing for blondes.
I mean,
Tatum Paxley's not.
She's timeless. That's the thing. So she may have retired now, but she'll unretire.
But I mean, that's true. But here's a really good comment here from Bobby Petito, right? I like this a lot. He is saying, what if Toni Storm is retiring her timeless gimmick and going back to her original character? I mean, I wouldn't like that, but maybe that is what she's doing. That would actually make a lot of sense.
I don't know with that, because obviously on Collision and in person at some AW event, they've had the "Where is Toni Storm now" segments and stuff like that, which is like QR codes you can scan, and then it's like, well, Toni Storm's was in CMLL, and then was in Mexico, and then was in Japan. So it seems like they're kind of continuing on with this character, and 100% honestly as well, this character is the most over Toni's been within AEW in itself. Obviously, has done
anywhere, to be honest.
She has done her previous indie gimmick, which is basically just Toni Storm being Toni Storm. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy the character and the theme and all of around it and the look. It's cool. But this is something that for women's wrestling this year is probably one of the best viewpoints of a women's wrestler. I think Toni Storm has been women's wrestler of the year for me in the women's side.
Wow.
I mean, look, if you think Rhea Ripley's been women's wrestler of the year, I will give you 20 points.
Oh, I'm not arguing Rhea Ripley. Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah,
I think she's great. I'm not arguing her this year.
Don't get me wrong, I think Rhea Ripley's great, but women's wrestler of the year, but yeah, I think Toni Storm.
Yeah, that was a convoluted mess.
It's Roxanne Perez, I think. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, Toni's probably going to be coming back soon. That's the end of it.
Shard is saying we're all being haters, and he's and he's doing a Tony Storm and retiring, but also his agreement with me, Roxanne Perez.
I really need you tomorrow, though. So, like, you mean after tomorrow, right, Sean?
Kobe's got a great comment too. Mariah, when
When's May?
When's
May? When's May?
Mariah,
I got it.
When's May? That's a tongue twister and a half.
Well,
Sean
if you add a question mark, it's like Mariah. When's May?
Where's May?
Changes the entire.
Where's May? Where is Mariah May? On AEW TV this week, hopefully. Well, she's actually not scheduled to try.
No, you don't like AEW, man. You don't have to keep.
I mean, Sean,
like
remember what was the last image?
Smoke a brisket.
Yeah, but Sean, what was the last image of Tony Storm in WWE? Oh, that was right, getting a pie or cake in the face by Charlotte Flair. I mean, yeah, cool. Yeah, that was a great.
That was bad.
A great time. It was a great time. I'm sure the booking would have definitely got better from there. Yeah, cool.
It's going to be an RC Thursday.
It's just another Tatum Tuesday with you on Tuesday night. I thought we were guys.
I got him singing, Shard. It's a karaoke session.
I sang and I can't sing. I've got bad vocal cords.
Apparently you're wrong. The super producer says you're wrong, Soul. So you've been fact checked. D6 Warlord says it's not her fault she got buried by the devil of WWE. I mean, her booking was horrific.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was Adam Cole segment on SmackDown.
Adam Cole, baby. I'll tell you what, that story could well have been written by Vince McMahon as well. But anyway, let's now move on to talk about tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, because we have a show. A couple of things I'm excited for. Big Boom AJ is going to be appearing. A lot of people are very apparently excited about. I don't care. But anyway, Big Boom AJ will be appearing ahead of his match against QT Marshall on this weekend's Full Gear buy-in show. Chris Jericho and Tomohiro Ishii will have their contract signing for their Ring of Honor World Championship match. Will Ospreay, Will Hobbs, Ricochet, and Mark Davis will be teaming up in a huge 8-man tag team match to take on Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Lance Archer, and Brian Cage. Meanwhile, in what I'm most excited for, Chris Statlander will be taking on Hikaru Shida. Yes, please, that could be a heck of a match. We also have Claudio Castagnoli versus Darby Allin. That could be a lot of fun as well. And then we also have Wheeler Yuta versus Orange Cassidy. I'm sure that'll be decent too. Not much sticks out to me, to be honest with you, on this card. I mean, I'm not particularly feeling it as the go-home show. But what about you, Sol?
I'm excited for the All-Star. That's probably my most anticipated match. As well, Hikaru Shida and Statlander I think will be great. I think obviously Darby and Claudio will be great as well. Let's talk about something I said there about obviously Big Boom AJ, the Costco guy, right? I am not a fan of this, right? It's not something I'm anticipated to watch. It doesn't make me really feel like, oh yeah, I'm going to tune in just to see the segment. But with saying that, I respect Big Boom AJ for what he's doing. I respect him for, being a previous wrestler, getting this opportunity, and he has advertised AEW to the best of his ability on his Costco guy Instagram page, TikTok, even mentioned it on Jimmy Fallon when he was there live. So, yes, I personally am not the demographic for this crossover. I 100% respect what Big Boom AJ is doing for AEW, and for that I applaud him for what he's doing. And you know what? Maybe I will tune in just to see how this goes, and if it goes well, it goes well. But yeah, nonetheless, the guy has my respect.
I mean, the thing is, though, right, that I don't follow them too much, right? I've seen a few things that they've done, but I just see everybody saying on anything they do right now that he is being overshadowed by the Rizzler, who apparently is a kid who is not related to them.
Yeah, the Rizzler's a child.
It's
entirely separate. No, this kid, yeah, he's the Rizzler. And not only that, if we're going to really get into that, Madden San Miguel or whatever, the kid that they call Baby Gronk, and has challenged the Rizzler to a celebrity boxing match, Ben. It gets really ugly. Do not go down that rabbit hole. I read a whole article about it. It gets uglier.
I'm invested.
As I said before, I ain't the demographic for this. this ain't my forte. This isn't my kind of content. I grew up with the days of Smosh and Ray William Johnston. That was my stuff. This ain't for me. This is the new generation's, palette, shall we say. But nonetheless, the guy he's advertised AEW to the best of his abilities on national platforms like Jimmy Fallon, as I said before, on his own page, which is quite popular. Yeah, people will comment in it about negativity about AEW because sadly that's just what the idiotic wrestling fans are like nowadays. You can't go into any AEW post without negativity. Likewise, even to WWE's, negativity will always be louder than positivity.
No, it's not. Yeah, I'll tell you, I read the comments on both. WWE has a lot of positivity and AEW has a lot of negativity. But again, I think it partly is
flipped
because
from a few years ago.
No, it has. That's true. But I also do think AEW is always going to have the disadvantage at that purely because the
out of the gates, when they're the
lifelong
cool kids
WWE
on the
fans
block,
who
it didn't
are
feel
do
like
have
that.
bias.
You can't take like most of the negativity comments in there seriously because they're either
No, you can't. You're right.
Because they're Cornette boys that just like to drink anything that Cornette says and says I'm satisfied.
Yeah, they're not all Cornette.
Or they're Eric Bischoffs, or they're busted opens, or they're whatever. They'll just drink whatever they like and they were satisfied with the taste. So that's fair play to you, but like you're not doing anything beneficial to the wrestling business. You're leeches, as I always say. You're just idiots. But as again, I'm happy to fully admit it. AJ Francis and the Costco guys isn't my cup of tea, but I respect him for what he's doing for AEW.
Kobe saying you're a fake fan if you don't watch it.
Oh, shut up, Canadian!
No.
You go.
Are you gonna watch it?
I'm working. I can't watch Full Gear. I'm working. I have a living to provide.
I think he's a fake. He's saving lives instead of saving Tony Khan's company. I think it's just not on, is it?
Priorities.
I think like two TNT titles, my AEW replica title, and all that things have saved Tony Khan's bank from enough of the days. I think I've saved.
That's true.
Hey, I still subscribe to
one
Honor Club.
use of their new song. But Shard is saying the Rizzler really is him. I mean, I'll watch the match if the Rizzler's involved. I don't even know who the Rizzler really is.
He's
but
not.
Just to make a point, I'm saying it now. I will turn my back. I'm watching AEW Full Gear this Saturday, but I'm going to turn my back and just not watch this match unless the Rizzler is involved. I don't know why, but I've decided that. I've made an executive decision, and that's what I'm doing. Clark, what about you? What are you excited for tonight?
I mean, listen, it's Big Boom AJ. Anybody that eats Costco hot dogs for a living and does it successfully, I have to respect. So, QT Marshall, no less. Like, it's going to be fun. Everything that we're going to see at Full Gear is going to be fun. Dynamite tonight, in general, for a go-home show, I think you said it earlier, like, it isn't the most stacked go-home ever. But I do think it'll be a decent show, and we always know that the pay-per-views deliver, and that's where I'm most excited. I'm looking forward to Full Gear. I'm ready for it. It's go-home shows, I think, have long sort of been, I don't want to call it an issue, but like a difficult hurdle for AEW to jump over at times. This one isn't super stacked. There's not like one thing that stands out other than just being entertained by pro wrestling on a Wednesday night. In general, though, I mean, how can you not like Big Boom AJ? Come on. It's the Costco guys. It's hilarious. It's fun crossover stuff. And it reminds me of like Shaq, things that AEW did in the early days that were really, really fun. And I enjoy that kind of stuff. There's time and place for that in wrestling, and AEW's done a decent enough job with it thus far. I have no doubt that this will be nothing short of entertaining, and that's all we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It will be entertaining. It really will be. This isn't WCW 2000, despite what some people are saying. It definitely is not. This comment, Kobe saying, how do I know who the Rizzler is? I know because onto D6 Warlord's next comment, on the QT Marshall diss track on Instagram, all the comments were full of this GIF or whatever it is they call it, you can send on Instagram.
The Rizzler.
Of the guy doing this.
Yeah.
And everyone was going Rizzler. But D6 Warlord is saying, I bring the doom. That's what I do. I bring the doom.
QT Marshall.
I'm about
Yeah.
2 seconds of walking out into sub-zero temperatures right now, just so I can avoid this. So I mean, you're pushing it, lads. You're pushing it.
Hey, people are pushing ice baths for health these days, so it could be good. Anti-inflammation.
This is a nice bath. This is Scottish weather in November. 2 different leagues.
2 different deals.
Oh gosh. D6 Warlord wants Shaq versus Paul White.
Now we're
I
talking.
mean,
Couple
we are getting
behemoths.
closer to WCW 2000.
Special guest referee Omos.
Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson just gets involved.
Get height in the ring. See who's the tallest.
Mike Tyson versus Shaq versus Paul White.
I'm sorry, that's ridiculous.
Oh gosh, we've
Choke
gone
Slam
off the
City.
rails. We've gone off the rails, guys. D6 Warlord is asking if Saul's related to Joe Hendry.
Yeah,
Great
second
question.
cousin.
Are you?
No comment. I plead the fifth. I will not incriminate myself for my big bro
You
Joe.
won't incriminate yourself.
Second cousin. I know it. Ancestry.com. Check it out.
He's my mom's dad's cousin's best mate.
Not a
from-
sponsor, sorry. 23andMe. Anybody that wants the sponsorship spot though for that.
Yeah, if anybody
let us know.
wants an an
23andMe,
ancestor type thing, let us
If you've got a
know.
bootleg one with a different name, reach out.
Clark at WrestlingRepublic.com.
Yep,
Just
That's the one.
send it over.
That's the email. Check us out.
Bobby Petito says this was an awesome show. Thank you so much, Bobby, and thank you to everybody else for watching. Thank you, Soul. Thank you, Clark, and we will be back the same time, same place tomorrow. We will see you guys then. Ba 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 ba.